Hey everyone, welcome to the main event. Today is Wednesday, June 21st. Happy summer solstice to those of you that are worshiping Gaia on this day, the longest day of the year. No, I don't follow that stuff. I just know it's a thing. I saw an article about people being at Stonehenge, so I think it's kind of funny. But it's cool also because, anyway, I won't get into it. Yeah. You're watching the main event. Welcome. Thanks for everyone joining. Got an interesting show today. I was going to talk about, I still might talk about a few things that I originally had planned, but I got a notification from our good friend Amin over at hairlosscure2020.com. I do highly suggest you guys bookmark that website for any interest that you may have in future treatments and such. He gave me a heads up that he was about to publish something, so I thought, hey, I can add this to the roster, and I was like, wow, okay, this is actually something interesting. And before I get into that, if you're new to the channel, don't know who I am or what I'm doing here, my name is Joe Tillman, and I am a 20-year veteran of the hair restoration industry and a 30-year veteran of hair transplant surgery. Got my start 22 years old. I think it was 1992 actually. Yeah. 31 years. Oh my God. 31 years since I got my first hair transplant, and didn't know what I was getting myself into. Had a second one the same year. Lots of shock loss. If you don't know what that is, you can go to my website, hairtransplantmentor.com, and go to the glossary, terms and definitions, and you can read up on what exactly shock loss is. There's actually a couple different variations of shock loss. But long story short, went through my 20s without hair loss medication, lost all my hair, except for the grafts that were placed, looked terrible. 32-ish, 32 years old, got repaired, and that set me on the path for my long-term career. I'd had a career before I got into this, a couple careers, but this was my calling. It was my passion. I was the first person to document in near real time what it was like to recover from a hair transplant. From the day of my surgery, where I was showing my grafts being dissected and placed, and all the things that they were doing to it at the time, all the way out 1 year, year and a half, documenting what it was like to live with the progress, the recovery of a hair transplant. I was showing, the first several days and weeks in my bathroom, the bathroom mirror. But then I was taking it out on the road. I was showing what it was like when I was out on my patio under sunlight. I was showing what it was like when I was at Gasworks Park when I lived in Seattle, when I was on my boat on Lake Washington, different conditions. And it kind of established me as someone that people wanted to follow because I was the first to do that. Back then, there were very few people showing their images and their actual results. It was a different time, but now it's thousands of people are showing what they've been through, more or less, and it's really a different world now. But I got a lot of experience in this industry, did work and got trained by some of the world's best doctors at the time, and currently working with 15 different doctors worldwide that are at the top of their game after they applied to become hair transplant mentor doctors. And here we are today. I've got this podcast live stream that I do Monday through Thursday, and then normally we have Spencer Copen's The Bald Truth every Friday right here on this channel with me, Joe Tillman. And we talk about hair. We talk about hair loss. We talk about the issues that you as a hair loss sufferer deal with. We answer questions, or I answer questions, and try to help you out. Try to use my experience, my perspective on the industry, which is not my perspective on the industry is not in line with how the industry views itself. I'll just put it to you like that. If you're a follower, a subscriber to this channel, you've already learned that quite well. I don't toe the line, as it were. And I actually went into that two episodes ago. Was it Monday? Where I was talking about the dangers of the industry and how it's just a terrible, terrible industry for people to trust with their long-term well-being. There are some gems. There are some people that you can feel pretty good about. I work with many of them. That's part of the screening process. I do look at a lot of factors aside from the pretty pictures, before and afters and videos. I dig much deeper. But yesterday's show was more upbeat, talking about the benefits of really good hair restoration and what you can do to increase the odds of having a good result. But never forget, and I was talking about this quite a bit yesterday, there's never any guarantees. If there are guarantees, they should never be a guarantee of outcome. They should never be a guarantee of happiness. They should never be a guarantee of excellent results. It should only be a guarantee of best effort possible. I think that's fair. Helping to keep things in perspective is what I feel the best way to present yourself as a ethical clinic. It's not always the case. I mean, it's not always done, but that's just the way I feel. And I encourage all clinics I work with, but clinics I don't work with, to present themselves in a way that does not give false expectations. I can't stand that. Anyway, so again, welcome to the show. It's been getting more fun to do the show, I got to say, partially because I feel more comfortable doing it. I've been doing this now for a few months, and part of the reason why I feel more comfortable is because of you, my loyal, ever always returning members and subscribers that are usually in the chat room. And let me see who's in the chat room today, see what's going on. I got some good conversations going on already. Jacob Anderson, hello, Joe. Hello, Jacob, how are you? Let's see, yeah, okay. Got a good crowd going. Thanks, everyone, for joining. So, about today. Today's subject is kind of interesting. Well, it's definitely interesting, but it's kind of unusual. And when Hair Loss Cure 2020 sent me this this information, or this update that they were putting on their website, and I saw it, I was like, I remember this, because this kind of story just doesn't. It's difficult to forget. It's just so unusual. But it has to do with a potential, all capital letters, not just capital P, but all capital letters, potential, and italics, and quotation marks, cure for hair loss in the future. It's always in the future. There's nothing here yet. But this one it's different. It's different. It's very different. It has to do with the way that you see hair growing out of moles.
Thank you. Whoa! So you're the most.
Yeah, I just had to do that. But yeah, it's interesting. So let me pull up the article. And thank you again to Amin from Hair Loss Cure 2020 for sending me this. Amplifica, yeah, that's it. Amplifica, hairy moles, osteopontin, and Scube 3. Among newer companies involved in trying to cure hair loss, Amplifica in the U.S. is particularly interesting. It was founded in 2020 by Dr. Maxim Plikus, who I have covered many times before. The company's two main areas of product development involve hairy mole molecule osteopontin and the Scube 3 signaling protein. And then it says right here, update for June 21st, 2023. Amplifica osteopontin hairy mole molecule clinical trials are beginning. He says, I previously, see bottom of this post, covered Amplifica and its hairy mole research. The company's founder, Dr. Plikus, and his research team discovered that a molecule called osteopontin is what makes hairy moles grow hair, or what makes hair grow out of moles. Moreover, this molecule can induce hair follicle growth when administered anywhere on the skin. The initial work was on mice, shocker, but the company plans to begin human clinical trials later this summer. Per a new update from today in Insider Magazine, Dr. Plikus believes that this compound, quote, could be needled into the scalp of balding men and women to reawaken hair follicles that have gone dormant in a near-painless Botox-like procedure, unquote. The treatment and trials will likely involve a combination of osteopontin and some other newly discovered hair-growing proteins that Plikus and his team have found. The Insider article implies that the other molecule will be SCOOB3, already tested in microinjections in mice. That's in parentheses. The team's latest findings in relation to hairy moles and osteopontin were published in Nature magazine, signaling by senescent melanocytes hyperactivates hair growth. A summary is also available on the company's website. I won't go into that, but the link is on Hair Loss Cure 2020. Interesting, Dr. Plikus says that this Nature publication is the result of nearly 10 years of research by an international team of scientists. The most encouraging quote of all from Dr. Plikus, quote, "It will grow like you remember it when you were 18, talking about your hair. It would not grow like thickened, wiry armpit hair. This burst of molecules is shown to hair follicles on a scalp, and they're like, oh, okay, time to grow," unquote. He continues with a note on osteopontin and hair growth. Note that I previously covered osteopontin in a number of my posts on Follicum, a company which disbanded in 2021 but came back in 2023 under new ownership. Their use of an osteopontin-based peptide was slightly different from what Amplifica will be doing via osteopontin plus other molecule injections. Follicum's phase 2 clinical trials resulted in a hair growth increase of 6.6 hairs per centimeter square, which was deemed insufficient to continue with phase 3 trials at the time. That makes sense. Hopefully, their new owners will have a change of heart. So that's interesting. I think about this, and what gets okay. So to me, what's most interesting is the quote by Dr. Plikus that the website points out. It will grow like you remember when you're 18. It would not grow like thickened, wiry armpit hair. The burst of molecules is shown to hair follicles on the scalp, and they're like, oh, okay, time to grow. So, does this affect... It says it will help hair grow anywhere on the skin, but if there aren't hair follicles in that area of the skin, then how can... These are just, like, I haven't thought this through, but it's like these are questions just popping up as I think of this, because I've only read through this once, this article, before I presented this to you. I didn't even read the whole thing, but this stood out to me. So, and maybe a min can give us a call from Hair Loss Cure 2020 and give his thoughts on this, because I'd really like to know. By the way, the phone is not plugged in. Hold on a second. Just in case. Hold on a second. Make sure it's going to work. Yeah, it'll work. But there's conflicting evidence with regards to very bald people as to whether or not the follicles are still present, or if they're still able to be revived. I'll requalify that. So how would this work? I question that claim by Dr. Plikus. I know nothing about this, but on the surface, based on this summary by Hair Loss Cure 2020, I would like to know more. I find it interesting. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the main event. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Minnesota.
Hello, Minnesota. What's your name?
Tyler.
Hey, Tyler. How you doing? What can I help you with?
Good. Yeah. Hey, quick question for you. I know you don't have a crystal ball, so it's probably hard for you to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
If there were to happen to be, let's say, a better treatment, a cure, let's say within the next 5 to 10 years, if I were to get a hair transplant now, would that affect the chances of growing hair because you're damaging your native hair?
That's a great question. But I don't see. Okay, so explain to me how you're damaging native hair from a transplant. Are you talking about damaging potential follicles that have been that have gone dormant? And
correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Like let's say you lost your frontal third and you had 2,000 to 3,000 grafts in your frontal third. A cure came out after the fact.
Yeah.
Does that damage or does that risk the chance of actually regrowing the hair in that frontal third, like native hair?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
because there's when you look at the placement of a hair transplant, the number one goal is naturalness, or it should be, but the secondary goal should be density. Once you have the naturalness established in a way to create naturalness with the placement and the preparation of the grafts and all that goes into it, the goal should be a believable density, or a density that is sufficient for the patient to achieve satisfaction. But even with higher density placement, there's so much space in between those incisions that you can't possibly get all the hair in there through those incisions. So there's
in your hair then.
Yeah, there would. I think that if you have a transplant done in the frontal third, like you're talking about, and then some sort of extremely effective treatment comes through that does activate dormant follicles, I think that you would have a phenomenal final result simply because you've got the transplant and all the follicles that can be activated will simply come through and just make it that much better. I don't think there will be any sort of major damage that would prevent that from happening.
Yeah. Well, one last question to piggyback off that. So I'm a Norwood 3. I'm 35 years old. Mm-hmm. I started finasteride at 24 years old.
Okay.
I have a strong history just on my dad's side, nothing on my mom's side.
Right.
So I'm 35 years old, been on it since I was 24. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was losing a little bit of effectiveness. Obviously it slows hair loss.
Right.
And so I switched to dutasteride, and I'm on the big boy dose. I'm on 5 milligrams of oral minoxidil and 2.5 milligrams of oral dutasteride.
Respect.
Yeah. About as strong a stack as you can get.
Yeah.
But my question is, okay, so if my dad's a Norwood 6, let's say I have it in my genes, I'm destined to be a Norwood 6 without medication,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Norwood 3 right now at 35 years old. Obviously, it's keeping it at bay.
Yep.
What if you're destined for a Norwood 6 and you take medication the rest of your life? Are you eventually going to reach Norwood 6?
Not necessarily. I don't think so. No.
You think medicine can hold it off?
There are different opinions on that. Like some people think that genetics always wins.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
I can't completely say that that's untrue, because I don't know of anyone personally that's been taking it from, say, 24 years old like you have to when they're, 75 or 80. No one does.
Right.
I can say that there are obviously people that do eventually lose out to genetics. No question. Mm-hmm. No question about it. But I look at my own case. Like, I've been on it since I've been, 21 years, I think, since I was 31, 32, or 32, yeah. And
is that when you started?
Yeah, that's when I first started, and I was already past a Norwood 6, but I can't say that my hair loss has really progressed. Mm-hmm. And before anyone in the chat room says, "Well, you didn't have much to progress," much more to progress anyway. That's not true. My donor capacity is still healthy. My fringe is still in about the same place it was when I first started with surgical hair restoration. So I've been maintaining pretty damn good. over the past 20 years. And my father, once he stopped taking Lonitin, which is oral minoxidil, as a blood pressure medication, his hair disappeared like blowing into a dandelion. Poof!
Yeah.
It went fast. And he's probably a 4. It's hard for me to remember because, but probably a 4-ish, a weak 4. And when I say a weak 4, I mean, easily moving into a 5 if he wasn't hanging on to it that well. Right. But then once he stopped taking it and his doctor switched him to whatever it was that he switched him to, then he went to a 7 pretty fast. Yeah. And I think a strong 7 at that. So yeah, I think my situation would be much worse if I weren't taking finasteride religiously.
Yeah, I think oral minoxidil, for what it's worth, when I got on that, my donor hair and the speed of which my hair grew and thickened was absolutely incredible. Yeah. And, I was on finasteride since 24, and I got on oral minoxidil 6 to 8 months ago, and it's just incredible, the thickening, on the back sides. And,
yeah.
I mean, at 35 years old, being a Norwood 3 and being on dutasteride, that heavy of a stack, there's no way I'm getting to a Norwood 6 in the next 10 years, is there?
Never say never. Seriously. Like, I'm no doctor. I'm obviously no soothsayer. I don't have a crystal ball. And I'm saying that just because there is a small chance that, sure, maybe you could. Maybe something would, scenario A, an asteroid hits the plant that makes oral minoxidil. Mm-hmm. we can't get any more for 5 years till they build a new manufacturing facility. Obviously that's not an accurate possibility because there's multiple places that make it and blah blah blah. But say there's a terrorist attack by someone that's hell bent on making everyone go bald and have high blood pressure, and they bomb all the places that make minoxidil. Then you're hooped. Then you're going to lose all your hair. The other scenario 2 is maybe something happens on a physiological level to where I can't even begin to think of the scenario, but never say never. Like there is no guarantee with this. And
sounds like I'm pretty safe though.
I think you're I would guess that you're pretty safe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
and that's always been my biggest concern. Okay, if I get that frontal third taken care of and I go full blown Norwood 6 in the next 10, 15 years, I'm chasing it. And I guess for me, and you hit on this the other day on the show about shaving your head, right? Mm-hmm. My fear was always, okay, if I do that frontal third and then maybe I run out of grass, I want to have the option to shave my head and not look goofy. You know what I mean?
I get that, but here's scenario 3. You do get that frontal third taken care of surgically. You love it. You're happy with it. You can stop wearing the hat if you're wearing a hat. If you can, style your hair. You start frosting it and teasing it and doing all these things that you wanted to do, but you couldn't because you didn't have it.
Right.
I don't know what your preferences are. I mean, maybe it's something you want to do. So, So 10 years later, you wake up and your minoxidil stopped working, your finasteride stopped working, and all of your hair is gone. Overnight. What do you do?
Yep.
Well, you still have the transplanted. You still have the transplanted hair. You still have donor hair. So worst case scenario, you get a second transplant that would taper down from the higher density in the front to lower density to the vertex.
Yeah.
And it'll look completely natural if obviously all things being equal, you got a great surgeon, blah blah blah.
Yeah. But you're right. I can deal with some thinning in that mid area and a little bit in the crown as I age, but I really like that hairline is really what squares you up.
Well, it is because that's what frames your face. That's what people think of when they hey, did you see Bob the other day? And immediately mental picture, facial framed, all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
You don't see the crown when you think of someone, you know what I'm saying. So
Right.
So I understand the concern, but I don't think that I don't think it warrants an appearance of unnaturalness or weirdness if you do lose more hair and you do have a second or even a third surgery, because then worst case scenario, again, assuming things grow properly and, the surgeon with good donor management skills, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you just look like you're thinning in the back,
Right.
maybe a little thin on top, but you look natural.
Exactly.
Like in my case, I don't look like I have a full head of hair. I look like I have a lot of hair. But if you look at my crown, I'll even turn for the camera.
Yeah.
It doesn't look completely full. It's you can see a little bit of thinning, and it also depends on the light. But that's the thing. You can live with it. You can change the hairstyle a little bit to compensate. You can maybe start using fibers if that's your thing.
Right.
You have options. So
let me ask you this last question. So if you shaved your head today, right? Let's say you took it down to a 1, and let's say you didn't have the FUT scar, you did FUE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based off the top of your head, would you rather have the transplanted hair on the top of your head, or would you rather have no hair? Meaning, does it look detectable if you were to shave?
Well, it depends on the length. You said a 1 guard. Yeah. In my case, if my donor healed the same way with multiple procedures as it did in the first FUE that I had, which was 4 years ago, or the main FUE that I had, which was 4 years ago, it would look fine. It would look thinner, obviously.
Yeah.
If I grew it out, but
not obvious you had one.
I'm sorry.
But not obvious that you had a transplant on the top of your head.
No.
On your recipient area.
No. It's not obvious now. It wouldn't be obvious, if it were FUE by today's standards, or the standards over the past few years. No, I don't think it would. I don't think it would stand out. No.
See, and that's what confuses me, Joe. Why does everybody, and I get, you bring attention to hair transplants and the risks that they can provide, but if you're okay accepting and shaving your head someday, a hair transplant really can't go wrong, can it?
Yes, it can. No.
If you're going to shave your head?
Are you sitting down? I am.
Yeah.
No, okay. So, look, my donor healing, both for donor scars of strip and with FUE, is, I'd say above average.
Yeah.
Considering all the surgeries I've been through, that's the qualifier here. Mm-hmm. If I just had one surgery and I didn't have a whole lot of hair loss and just one surgery, which is enough to deal with whatever issue I had, and you saw my donor, it'd look good. I don't think it would be exceptional. I think it would be, and this is looking at the FUT side of things. I think that honestly, my donor scar, which is one donor scar, even though I've had multiple surgeries, I've even had surgeries where that donor scar was interrupted with another surgery that simply maintained the connection that it had previously with the rest of the scarring. I mean, it really is, when you think about what Dr. Wong did and what he was able to achieve, it really is spectacular.
Right.
But if you just look at that alone, my donor scar from having 8 or 9 FUTs, or 7 or 8 FUTs total, I think. God, I keep forgetting the number. Is exceptional.
Right.
It is exceptional. It looks like a person that had one surgery with a good outcome would look. And I've had multiple.
If you did FUE and shaved your head, couldn't you just take SMP and just kind of touch up some of those scars if you were going to buzz it?
Well, okay, so let me finish my point. So the FUE I've had, it was a small procedure. 800 grafts, and it was distributed. The extractions were distributed over a wide area as opposed to a smaller area, which also helps the lack of any sort of visual impact on the aesthetic. When you look at the extraction points themselves, you can't really see them.
Yep.
Okay, that comes from a really good set of hands, an experienced clinic, and probably the tool set that they chose for my particular case.
Yep.
If I had so many more grafts, like I've had, in all my surgeries, but just with FUE, I can't say it would look the same. I can't say, you have to understand that the density would be greatly reduced visually. The visual impact from a lowering of the density would be apparent. I can't see how that wouldn't be the case.
Right.
But I also healed exceptionally well. So you talked about it can't be so bad to where you can't just shave your head. It can and has been for many, many people. That's why, and we're talking about FUE here. That's why if you do a search right now on FUE scarring and click images on Google image search, you will find a lot of photos showing some shitty results. Like if you shave down to a 2-guard or a 3-guard, you'll see depleted donor areas where it looks like a box of thinning, where the rest of the sides, the bilateral donor area looks fine, untouched, nice and thick at a short length. You'll see cases where the scarring, each individual extraction point is larger than it should be. You'll see cases where you wouldn't even guess that the scarring was undesirable until they actually did shave their head. I'm not going to mention a name, but there's a YouTuber that did that, and the scarring was kind of surprising. Phenomenal result on the growth and the overall, the way he styles hair and
I know which one you're talking about. I watch that.
Yeah. So I think that it depends on the experience of the clinic. Depends on the tools that they're using, the size of the tool. It depends on how you heal, which is the case in the one I just mentioned. He just didn't heal particularly well. It wasn't the clinic. I know the clinic. Yep. I know the doctor quite well.
I'm thinking that I'm going to go to Dr. Basanga. Mm-hmm. It seems like he's very particular with his donor, like as far as extracting. From what I've read and what I've seen at BHR clinic.
I would agree with that. But I mean, I can name 10 doctors that are very particular about how they extract.
Right.
But and not to take anything away from Dr. Bazinga. I know Dr. Bazinga. I like Dr. Bazinga, and I agree with you. He is particular about his donor integrity, his donor preservation. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can certainly choose a worse doctor than Dr. Bazinga, for sure.
Yeah. How can somebody get a hold of you for advice on transplants?
You just did.
Well, I mean, like detailed. I mean all the questions.
Like, hello, you're talking to me.
All the questions.
I'm just giving you a hard time. You can contact me. Well, first off, you have to follow me on Instagram at Joe Tillman Official. And I found that that's the only way I can ensure the little bit of reciprocation that I require of subscribing or following, because if you're not following me on Instagram, it becomes a message request, not an actual message, and I can just ignore it. It's like, fucker's not following me. Why would I want to? He's not clicking one button with his mouse or on his phone. So why should I answer his questions? Right. Just that one little thing, that one little gesture. That's all I need.
Cool. Well, you answered a lot of questions for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. If you've got some pictures or questions you want answered, reach out. If I have the time, and this isn't just for you, this is for everyone listening. If I have the time, I will answer you at some point. I can't always answer immediately. Sometimes it could be several days. Don't start sending me reminders. Hey, dude, I sent you. It's like I know, but I got a lot of shit going on. So I'll eventually get to you. All right.
Sounds good, Joe. Appreciate all you do.
Yeah, no worries, buddy. Thanks for calling.
Yep. See you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, got another call. That was fast. Hey, you're on the air on the main event. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello, you're on.
Hey, you're on the air on the main event.
And please turn off your speaker in the background.
Okay. Yeah, this is Wayne from Pennsylvania.
Hey, Wayne from Pennsylvania. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good.
Right on.
Hey, just not too long ago, you mentioned that you have some sparseness in the vertex area. So, let's say you were to get another hair transplant. Which doctor would you choose? Hypothetically speaking, of course. Let's say you're a hair transplant addict and you want to be perfect about your hair. Who would you go to?
Are you actually throwing out a hypothetical? Like, let's pretend that you're a hair transplant addict.
Yeah.
Who do you think you're talking to? I've had 10 hair transplants. I am an addict.
Like, let's say you want to go for one more.
What kind of qualifying question is that? That's oh, geez, that's funny. Well, I mean, okay. I'm going to share with everyone my policy of naming names for my own personal use. Dr. Wong has been my doctor for the past 20 years. He's the only doctor that has ever touched my head since I started my repair. Well, I take that back. There was one point where Dr. Hassan did a very small FUE test session on me, so that's not entirely true. But he's been my doctor for 20 years.
Okay. So I guess you'll stick with him then.
He is, in my view, one of the absolute best hair transplant physicians in general, but when it comes to vertex and crown work, I talked about this on one of my recent shows. I don't understand why he's only known for crown work in some areas, on some online platforms, and I think that the operators of that website are doing him and his patients a disservice by allowing that kind of discussion. Just as a side note, for him to be only recognized for crown work, he does phenomenal everything work. So with that out of the way, yeah, I'd go back to him.
Okay.
Most likely. But then the natural question after that would be, well, if he wasn't available, who would you go to? If he had retired, who would you go to? I won't answer that question. Because
okay, that's fine. I was going to ask that anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to push it.
That's fine.
Okay. On to another question now. One of the past shows, you mentioned that some of the Turkish doctors, when they implant at the very front, the hairline portion, sometimes they like to implant the hair pointing straight up and down. Do you know why they would have it oriented in the vertical direction as opposed to the general tendency of how the hair grows?
Do I know why a hair transplant physician would want to place hair vertically in the hair?
I'm talking about Turkish hair mill doctors. Why, or technicians? Why would they want to do that? You mentioned in the past some of these clinics would purposely implant the hair in the vertical direction.
Yeah, it's because they don't know what a hairline should look like. It's not for any sort of strategic reasoning. Like the only reason why anyone would want to place hair vertically, or we'll say at a right angle to the plane of the scalp, which isn't completely vertical. If we're looking at the vertical plane and as it cross sections with a hairline, that's different than a right angle to the scalp in the hairline, because the right angle, if we look at the hairline, there's a slope, right? So a right angle would actually be pointing at a slant from the vertical plane. But if we're talking about the vertical plane, if we are talking about placing hair literally vertically on the scalp and the hairline, the only reason why you'd want to do that is if the patient has a very specific need where their hairstyle is going to be brushed back. But even then, no, that's not even legitimate either. Scratch that. I've heard of that approach, but no, scratch that. There is no legitimate reason to do that. It's simply out of ignorance and a lack of experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
It should never and to be fair, like sometimes you'll see hair that is styled in such a manner where maybe the patient has coiffed the hair, whatever you want to call it, coiffed their hair vertically with gel or whatever, and that's fine. But if you give it a chance to lay naturally, it would not poke straight up. It would fall forward, even when cut short. It would lay forward at a very obvious angle. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. What about the hairstyle that DJ Pauly D has? It seems to be vertical. I mean,
I don't know who that is.
I don't know. I guess. Well, he's on MTV a lot. Well,
I don't watch MTV, but yeah, okay. I don't watch TV in general. But yeah, look, hairstyle is one thing. Like, okay, here's the thing. Why wouldn't you want to place the hair in the natural angle and direction that it would grow in if you never lost your hair? Because when you have that kind of hair growth, you can style it any way you want. That's the whole point of placing hair in the angle and direction that it would grow in had you never lost your hair to begin with. It looks like it never fell out. It looks like it was not placed there by a human hand, and you're able to style it the way that you would any natural head of hair that never fell out or never thinned out. You can style it straight up.
Well,
you can style it any way you want. But here's the thing, and I'm talking about my own personal experience. My first 2 hair transplants, my grafts were placed vertically, and I am talking about on the vertical plane, not at a right angle to the slope of my scalp. Remember, those two different things. Mine were vertical, and if I tried, or when I tried to brush my hair forward, I grew it long, and I was trying to brush it forward to kind of hide the hairline a little bit. Guess what? Mm-hmm. It didn't work. Hair doesn't want to naturally just kind of flop forward unless it's really long. And when it's really long, and you try to flop it forward for like a Caesar style, guess what? That angle defeats the purpose, where you have, it's almost like this arch where the hair, it doesn't lay forward, it's going straight up, and then it kind of arches over due to the weight of the hair when you're styling it forward, but you still have this arch is a perfect explanation, and it looks like shit. It looks terrible.
No.
It looks terrible, and if you don't have the density, oh my god. Yeah, forget about it. It is one of the worst things that you can experience with having a bad hair transplant, is not being able to, being reminded that your hair transplant is terrible because you can't have a natural hairstyle. Like, you have to come up with ways to try and make it blend in with everyone else. And in my case, it was combing it to the side and back, or just back. I would do kind of like when I had enough native hair, I'd still kind of slick it back a little bit. But yeah, you can't hide it if it's a really bad. You have to do vertical, and the only way to deal with that is having a bunch more hair transplanted in between them to alleviate the appearance of plugginess, if that's also an issue. So, yeah, I mean, you can have one hairstyle if your grafts are placed vertically, and that is vertical. That is spiked up. That's it. That's it. That's all you can do. Style. Yeah, that's all you can do. And eventually, as you become an adult, you get tired of it.
Get tired of, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would look kind of unusual too, right? If you're, let's say, 60, 70, 80 years old and your hair's still sticking up.
I think it's weird if you're. It depends on your profession. Like if you're trying to be professional, and trying to be a big boy in this world, you want to have in some sometimes it's fine, but in some professions you want to have more of a. I don't want to say normal, but you want to have more of a reserved hairstyle to show that you're. I don't know. Some people may disagree with this, but to show that you're more of a serious kind of person, like I could.
Yeah, where you blend in with the norm.
Yeah. You don't want to stand out, and you want to be recognized for your abilities as opposed to your hairstyle. You want to be recognized for your performance as opposed to wearing a loud Hawaiian shirt and having a funny hairstyle. Like you don't want to stand out. You want to be able to have the option of that, but you don't want to have that being, your only option. You want to have other options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Always, Wayne. Thanks for calling. 1-833-563-4247. We're live on Wednesday, June 21st, talking about, we've been trying to talk about, got some great phone calls in between, but trying to talk about the inducing of hair growth through a protein found in hairy moles. It just sounds weird even talking about it, but it makes sense, I guess, if you can recreate that in volume, then you're onto something. Hey, you've called the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Spencer, calling from DC.
I can hear myself in the background. Can you turn your speaker down or your...
I did. Sorry about that. I didn't expect you to answer so quickly.
No worries. Hey, man, that's what I do. I'm quick, baby. I'm quick.
How are you? First of all, thank you so much for all that you do. I get a lot of information from you, and it's really helped me from a lot.
Good.
My research and everything. So I had a quick question. I had my first transplant in December.
Uh-huh.
You had a show, and I watched it out of order. I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before.
Blasphemy.
A guy called...
Blasphemy. Go back, start from the beginning.
I watched them all just out of sequence.
All right, that's fine.
So I'm an avid watcher.
Thank you.
So I have curly hair, just like the other caller, and it has gray in it. So it's that, I'm a hairdresser, so that hair is typically more wiry. But it is a weird little texture, and I know that different... I always had my curl texture pattern was different around my head, but I also had a transplant. So I know I called the doctor. They said it would subside eventually. When should I start to worry? Because I'm looking to do a second procedure with this doctor, and if there was some damage,
and now you're not sure if it's going to be with this doctor.
Well, I just I'm calling around. It's been 6 months.
Yeah,
and I was thinking of tweaking the hairline and the crown, and then just kind of moving on with my life.
Okay, that's reasonable.
But everything looks pretty natural so far. It's still a little patchy, but like I said, I'm only 6 months in, and there's new hair coming every day.
Right.
We did a strip. He got 3,400 out of that strip, so we went a lot further back than I was anticipating.
Did you go local? Did you go to a local doctor?
I did. I went to a local doctor, and he has 20 years experience.
I know
he had all the certifications, with all the boards and everything. He's got multiple videos on YouTube. I had a consult in person. I asked all the questions that I learned to ask and all of that.
How was Wendy? Yeah. I know who you went to.
Okay. So
who are you talking to?
I know. I don't want to name names on
That's
air.
Fine. That's fine. I won't
I don't
force
want to
it.
do that.
I won't force it.
You know who I'm talking about. You can say the name, but I won't do that. So you know this person. Do you have any history that should I trust this person to do the second one? Or when should things kind of subside a little bit, or just it's not bad? You did tell the person yesterday that the curl pattern relaxes.
I'll just say this. I'm surprised you got out alive. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. No.
Okay.
Totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. Look, so your situation is classic. You're 6 months in from your hair transplant, six months and change. You got the growth coming in, little bit wiry, little bit we'll say ornery, which is a good Southernese term. It's a little ornery.
It's not kinky in any way, just a little wiry.
Okay, little wiry, little ornery. Maybe a little difficult to style, not quite cooperating yet. Yeah, it's early. This is normal.
Not quite yet. I do, but depending on the product, and I said I'm a stylist. I have a 30-year career. And I also, it came from the back. That hair, I haven't had grown my hair out in 20 years. And like I said, it is, I'm growing it all out now. So I think it is a little early. I mean, I've been calling, and then in the same program yesterday, I think it was the one I saw yesterday, you said to watch out for anybody that has, that gives you a special deal if you come in at a certain date in the next 3 weeks. And I called Bosley, and they offered me that deal, so I ran. I didn't take.
Yeah. But look, and I don't think I was warning about that kind of thing. But I was saying that's kind of a red flag. It doesn't mean that if someone has an opening. What I was actually saying, I said if you have a consultation with a clinic and you talk to them about scheduling, and they say, oh well, we're booked out for say 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, and you say, well, I was hoping I could get in at some time. No, okay, sorry. What I was saying was, if they tell you that they're booked out for several weeks and you're not quite ready to pull the trigger yet, and then you get a call 3 days later saying, hey, by the way, we got an opening, we can give you a discount if you can fill it in, and that opening happens to be, next week or 4 days away, then that's kind of iffy. Like, really? Like, seriously?
Though, because well, this place, I mean, first of all, the clinic, it sounded like they were building off of their name. They said, we've been to 40 years, la, la, la.
Yeah.
And then, but I need more than that. You know what I'm saying? Also, I said, look, I want to wait a year. I got to see what grows. And then I could go in and look at it. And they're like, oh, no, you can do it right now. You can do it at 6 months, blah, blah. I'm like, but the stuff is still growing in. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I just don't. I mean, I guess we could do the hairline tweak and then the crown. That's what I was going to do anyway. But what about everything in between where they worked on? Like, I need that to fill in, to grow in. What if you have leftover grafts? Blah, blah. It was more about getting me on the book.
Yeah. Well, that's what it sounds like. And I think everyone that's having consultations and is in the research stage, I think that if they have a national chain office that's near to them, I think it's in their best interest to go ahead and actually have a consultation with one of these places, just so you can see the difference,
Yeah.
So you can like you did, because where you went and had your surgery versus this place that you're talking about, that's a night and day. Like, I know your doctor. I don't know him well. He's actually reached out to me a couple times in the past, not in a long time. It's actually back when I worked in a clinic. He actually reached out to me for some advice on documentation tips on how to take better photographs, because I was, I'm known in the industry for being kind of, picky about that kind of stuff and experience. So yeah, that's how I know him. And we've had a few conversations over the years. But what I do know is that your consultation was completely different with him than it was with this other place that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
it was more personal with him, and I really want this to work out because I love going there. I love Wendy. I like the personal experience that I got. They saw me every day until the sutures came out. And so I'm really, I guess I feel a little more at ease knowing that it's still early and this is normal. That's the thing. That's the same thing they told me.
You have not only more maturing of the hairs that are growing to where they'll soften up and they'll become a little bit less wiry, and the texture will improve over time. But you also have more hairs coming through as well. It'll get thicker.
Yeah.
So you got a double benefit to look forward to with time. You're halfway through, if that. Like you might even be only 40% through. There are some people that say, "Oh yeah, at 6 months you're 75%." No, it's bullshit. You might be only 40% at this point. It could be this could be a 15-month development cycle for you.
That's what they told me. They said it can take up to 18 months, and I knew the 6-month mark, which is now, is when things really start to kick in. So I purposely did it in December, so like my birthday in October, I could just kind of take pictures without a hat on.
What day in October?
October 11th.
Good man. Right on. Good stuff. Proper Libra. I will say one thing I disagree with is I don't agree with the 18-month timeline. What I do agree with, as far as 18 months, is the maturing of the hair. Getting the final result, not just growth, but also the way that it behaves, the way that it styles.
That's more on the month side.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by that. Because I know after it fully grows in, then it starts to thicken and mature, and that's what they mean by those last few months.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That's good.
Fair enough.
So all in all, we have a reputable doctor that I worked with from what you've known.
I'm sorry?
So all in all, my doctor is good from what you know, the reputableness of his.
Well, I'll say this. Like, I don't know much about how he does things behind the scenes, and that's more of. I'm kind of cautious when I say things like that. I will say for you went to a doctor that, yes, he has a good reputation. I see no problems with him. It never hurts to keep looking, but if you're happy, with your final result, this is one thing I do believe in. If you're happy with the way they treat you after surgery, which is super important, I think it's much more important on how you're treated after surgery than before surgery. I think that's a pretty common sense position to take, but you'd be surprised. There are a lot of clinics that put a lot more effort into getting you in the chair as opposed to setting up a scenario where you want to come back after you're in the chair.
And they treat it incredibly well. I got everybody's phone number. I go back periodically. I go in seconds. They know my name, and we sit there just catching up.
You have a familiarity there, which is fantastic. I'm a big proponent of that. I think that's fantastic. If you have that opportunity, when your final result comes in, when you as you watch this develop, as it thickens, as it will, as the texture changes, as it will, when you get to the point where you can say, "I'm happy with this result," then you know that is the clinic for you, because it is contrary to popular belief. Well, I can't say it's popular, but I know a lot of people that think like this. When you find a clinic that you like based on your first experience, it'll be difficult for you to find another clinic that matches that type of satisfaction. Because
that's why I anywhere else, and that's why I just needed you to say what you said.
Yep.
Regarding just give it time, you're on track. Give me the peace of mind, because I do want to continue. I do like the relationship I have with them. They're amazing. And I want to continue, but I think I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to wait about I'm going to keep monitoring it, and I guess at 12 months, I'll know.
Right on. All right. Well, I wish you all the luck with your progress, and thank you for calling, and thank you for your support. I hope you're subscribed, and go over to my Instagram and follow me on Instagram at Joe Tillman Official.
I think we spoke briefly on there, but thank you. If I have any more questions, I will call in. You're amazing. I'm a huge fan,
Awesome.
and I'm in for life.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Take care.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye. That was a nice call. And that means the line is open, 1-833-563-4247, toll-free North America, and using the calling app of your choice worldwide as well. Maybe we'll get a call from some of our friends in Australia. They're waking up now. It's about 7 or 8 in the morning. I think it's about 8 in the morning over there. Europe, it's still pretty late, but I know there's some people up watching. And, of course, here in North America, it's the middle of the day. Give me a call. Let's talk about hair. Let's talk about moles. It just doesn't, injecting mole proteins on my scalp, it just, gives me the creeps. But hey, it's a thing. We'll see how that works out. Let's go to the chat room and see. I forgot what I was talking about with the phone calls kind of distracted me, so I forgot where I was. But let's see. What do we got here in the chat room? Okay, Sergey, great question. Sergey, how you doing, buddy? Privyet. Joe, has that new potential cure been tested for possible skin cancer risk? I don't know. Good question. We know that moles are generally benign, but occasionally malignant cells start growing around or inside them. Scary stuff. No, it is, but they're talking about the specific protein that's in these moles. So I would imagine that it would be safe only because it's a protein, a specific protein. They're not actually taking mole tissue aside from that protein, and I don't think. But I don't think that would be the case. That's a good question. It's logical thinking, along with the malignancy of these. But I don't think that would be the case. I don't think that would influence any sort of mutations that would metastasize into some sort of cancerous growth. But good question. Thanks for asking that. Neil Adams, hey buddy, I've been on finasteride for a number of years. Would it be worth my while taking oral minoxidil? Only you can answer that, my friend. If you feel like your finasteride is holding you steady, why screw with it? Because anytime that you add another treatment, never forget, you do run the risk of inducing a telogen effluvium, albeit it could be a minor shed. It could be a big shed. Who knows? But if you're maintaining, I'm not a fan of adding additional treatments just to see if you can get that little bit extra. I'm not a fan of that. So, but do what you want. Just make sure that you've thought it through, and you know what your goals are. Don't start a new treatment just for shits and giggles to see what it does. I don't think that's safe. I don't think it's responsible. So be responsible. Think it through. Let's see. Got a phone call. Let's see who this is. Hey, you are on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. This is Anand from Hairloss Cure 2020.
What's up, buddy? How are you? Oh,
pretty good.
All right. Thanks for calling, man. What's going on?
Yeah, I was in the mall when I heard you earlier. You're saying that you're wondering how, if the hair is gone completely, it could grow back with this new treatment. And I heard, like in the past, there are a few different theories. Like they say the hair follicle never dies.
Yeah,
right? I guess you heard of that.
I've heard that, and I've heard the opposite. That once it's kind of like this reflective sheen on the scalp, then it's pretty much like it's dead and gone because the blood supply to that follicle has also been basically dried up. That the capillaries that go to that follicle have shriveled because there's no place to go.
Right. And then, there are two other things they say, like, when the hair follicle, you can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
That means the progenitor cells have died, but the follicle is still there.
Yeah.
And then there's another theory, I think it's an English researcher who's been promoting this thing where it says the erector pili muscle is gone, like it's infiltrated. And some people say that once that happens, you can never grow back hair once those muscles are gone.
Yeah.
Or infiltrated with fat, I guess. But, there's just enough research now. And I've seen so many cases on, of people who are like converting from male to female. So many of them bring back hair they lost like 10 years ago, and they go all out with like kitchen sink approach.
Right.
And take every possible drug. So I think it can still work on people who look completely bald,
I would hope so. I would hope so. But, I'd like to see, I'd like to see some of these studies take some of these Formica bald guys where you can see yourself in their scalp, like just truly bald people and actually focus on them, because like it's one thing it's pretty easy to thicken existing hair follicles. It's pretty easy, we know today, to make a follicle that looks like it's being miniaturized into a full-on terminal-looking hair. It's not rocket science anymore. We have a few different modalities to accomplish that. But to take a reflective surface and be able to grow hair there, that, my friend, that is the holy grail. And and as far as I'm concerned, just my personal opinion, until we get to that point, everything else is meaningless. Like you can look at it as being like baby steps to get to that point, but really, we can already do that. So let's find something new. This whole protein thing, the
osteopontin.
Pontin, yeah. It is very interesting to me, and I think that, and that's what's that whole question about, is there the tissue remaining in the scalp that can actually be revived? If that's true, then this could be it. This could be it.
Right. And by the way, so they're going to use more than one, not just osteopontin, but they have the SCOOP3 signaling molecule. And I updated my post after you went live, but one of the co-founders is also Dr. William Rasman. I forgot about him.
Who?
So,
Dr. Rasman?
Dr. Rasman, of this company, Amplifica.
Yeah.
Amplifica.
Yep.
So, the Maxim Blykus, he is phenomenal. Like, I've seen him speak, make like 2-hour technical presentations.
Yeah.
And he's much younger than Dr. Rasman.
Yeah. So
he's like the researcher behind all this.
Yeah. He's a researcher, and anyone else involved is probably just there for the clout and maybe some funding.
Right.
Yeah, and we know how that works, but it is encouraging to see this. What I like about your website, hairlosscure2020.com, and the information that's coming out that you're able to cover is it seems like the momentum is picking up as far as who is interested in actually trying to address this problem that we call hair loss. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I'm just now starting to pay attention a bit more, so maybe that's part of it. But it seems like there are more companies jumping into the ring to see what they can do to fight this issue.
Yeah, so it's kind of, there's two sides of this. I saw the same thing 7-8 years ago. That's why I predicted that probably by 2020 there will be something that will at least prevent you from losing more hair.
Yeah.
And things slowed down a bit in like the West, especially during COVID. But now it's picked up in Asia, like big time,
Yeah.
Not just South Korea, but a few other places. And we don't even know too much about what's going on in China, besides Kintor.
Right.
There's some other company, but yeah. So in Asia, I would say I agree with you. Like it's really, really picked up now in the last few years.
Well, okay, so with that said, 7-8 years ago, your prediction was hair loss cure in 2020. Knowing what you know now, what's your? I mean, obviously you can't change your domain name, but what is your prediction now as far as the year that the cure comes out?
Well, I'm still most interested in Dr. Suji from Japan.
Yeah, okay.
And it's funny, like 5 years or 6 years after I started my blog, he said, I'll come out of this cure in 2020. He pretty much proclaimed it,
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like I was right on the money then. But then he is like, he's a really, really respected scientist in Japan, like at Riken. Riken is like their leading research institute for medical research or regenerative medicine research.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he was completely not good at funding and how the business world works and those kind of things. And he partnered with a company that folded, and then he had to spend his own money to buy his patents back,
Yeah.
So he now is predicting 2026, if I recall. I'm not in front of my computer now.
Okay.
Yeah, and he is, like, in Japan, they can do clinical trials much faster. Now
Right.
they passed these regulations like a number of years ago. You were the one who told me about I think it was in the UK or the US. Maybe it was the US that they passed new regulations a few months ago. There are like 4 or 5 countries now where they'll probably be able to speed up phase 3 trials, and then you have all this cosmeceuticals stuff. I mean, most of that is not a cure. I mean, it's just like a new. I'm hoping for a couple of new types of finasteride with different mechanism of action.
Yeah,
and no side effects.
Yeah, and that's and this mRNA and cRNA type of delivery vehicles might be might be the answer for that. Like where there are no actual, well, we'll say not the same side effects. Not saying there won't be any side effects, but it's looking like that. Fingers crossed.
Right.
It just the question now is the efficacy. Just how much of a turnaround can these treatments offer us compared to the minoxidils and finasterides of the world. So we'll see. I am more optimistic now than ever. I used to shit on this all the time just because it's like why are you guys sitting around waiting for something to happen and holding off on everything else that's already here, and I'm still mostly in that camp, but I can understand the excitement. I can understand the interest because it's just the way that things are happening now is different, and we're seeing hope through other treatments that have the same type of backstory as far as the development. For other, we'll call them ailments, right? So we'll see. Fingers crossed. A dose of a healthy dose of skepticism is still warranted, but for everyone watching or listening, live or during the replay, stay on top of hairlosscure2020.com, bookmark that website, and check back every couple of days because Anand is on top of things with his articles, his updates about anything and everything hair loss and the non-surgical side of things. So I really appreciate your calling in on this and letting me know about this story that you're posting because it's given me some great content for today's show. So I really appreciate that.
Right, and I hope at some point maybe you can get Mr. Plikus, to come on the show. He actually replied to my emails a couple of times in the past. Okay. When he was not that busy, but maybe you can get him as a guest.
Well, you know what? Maybe I can ask you to reach out on my behalf since you already have an email an email trail with him, an email train, and say, hey, there's this fantastic show with this stunningly handsome guy that just knows so much that you should go on his show, and that will help to secure more funding.
Right.
See, you got to entice them somehow,
Right. Yeah.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for calling, and
good, man.
and thanks for listening as always, and your support. So we'll talk to you later.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
See you, Joe.
All right. Bye-bye. Always love hearing from Anand. I called him Amin earlier, but sorry about that. Yeah, it's Anand from hairlosscure2020.com. He's a good man. and he's a great resource for your research. He's a great resource for your research. Did I say that the first time? I think I did. Anyway, line is open. Or it was open. Now it's not. Let's see who this is. It's an international call. I think I know who it is. You're on the main event. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Joe. I'm Andre from Romania. You might remember me.
Andre, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing quite well. What about you? How are you doing? I've been watching your whole live stream.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty good. Had a pretty good day today so far before I started the show, and it's good content. We got some good calls, a lot of good stuff going on in the chat room. It's a good day, my friend. Thanks for calling. What's new?
Yeah,
what can I help you with?
I saw that. Well, I called when I called last time. I called about my brother. Mm-hmm. And we went to.
Wait a minute. You're actually Tristan Tate, aren't you? Calling from Romania. Asking about your brother Andrew and his hair loss issues. You can't fake it. What's up, Tristan? I had to. The opportunity was there. I had to take it. You opened the door. I had to walk through. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. What's your question?
Yeah. It was a good joke. Well, we went there and he got prescribed minoxidil. Like we already kind of figured out that was going to be his prescription, right?
Sorry, where did you go?
To a dermatologist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in Romania.
And he in Romania, yeah.
Okay.
And he got a prescription for minoxidil, topical minoxidil.
Topical, okay.
Yeah, and so far he's been on it for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
And but he's still like, should I apply this? Should I not apply this? It takes 4 hours to dry. Things of that nature.
Yeah.
And but he's kind of being consistent. I hope he will be.
Mm-hmm.
He will keep doing that. So he's fine. Like, because he told me to kind of keep you updated with it.
Okay.
Hope to see some regrowth in a few months.
Is he taking it once a day or twice a day?
Once a day. Not willing to do it twice a day because usually when he wakes up, he goes to the gym. Mm-hmm. Something that I never did.
Yeah.
But so he's probably sweating a lot there, and I don't know. He doesn't want to apply it in the morning, but he does it at night.
Well, why can't he apply it when he gets home after working out?
Because he still has like school and other things to do besides gym and.
Is it liquid or foam or tell me about it?
It's liquid. I wanted to get in foam.
Okay, it's liquid. So is it? Has he been complaining about it being greasy or heavy on his hair?
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's why he's doing it only in the nighttime.
Okay, well, I understand. I understand the issue. I don't blame him. And honestly, I think starting out with topical minoxidil once a day, I think that's perfectly fine because it allows for a couple things. Number one, it allows him to get used to taking it. It allows him to see if he's actually having any sort of reaction to it, any sort of side effects, which topical minoxidil can have side effects. So he's able to see how he tolerates it. And if he does have any sort of benefit, he might be encouraged to add a second dosage in the morning.
Like doing it twice.
Yeah. In fact, I think that it would be in his best interest. He can still take it in the mornings before he goes to the gym. Just give it time to dry and not worry so much about it sweating out, because by the time he lets it dry and then gets to the gym, it will probably have done what it's going to do or what it's supposed to do, or at least it would have been better had he not taken it at all. At least there'd be some penetration, there would be some benefit that's above and beyond what he's getting now just from one nighttime application. So just something to keep in mind, and you can relay that to him. He can still get a benefit if he has it in for, say, an hour before he actually starts sweating in the gym. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. He's kind of hard to work with him with the oldest.
Well, he's your brother. Of course he's going to be difficult. He's your brother. That's part of his job. But I get it. I don't blame him a bit. As long as he's getting at least one dose a day and he's being consistent, that's a great start. It's a great start.
Yeah. And thank you. Like, because even now, like the past couple of weeks, I felt like really down about my hair, and I don't, like I said, I don't want him to go through the same thing that I'm going right now.
Yeah, I get it. You're a good brother. I understand.
Thank you, Joe.
A little personal anecdote. I actually had the same issue with my own younger brother. I don't know if I told you about this. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I have. I have mentioned it on air, where his hair loss has matched my mother's side of the family, whereas I've matched my father's side of the family. And I asked him recently if he ever started if he ever started Propecia, because I gave him the name of some doctors in his area that he could go to, and I could set up a consultation, and he never did. And he said that his hair loss hasn't gotten any worse in the past while, and he feels it's stabilized. So it's like, all right, like I'm not going to argue with him, but I know that next time I know that I was actually just thinking about this right very recently today. I was thinking next time I see him, I know that I'm going to be like, shit, you need to get on this now. Because I know it's easy to not realize that you're losing your hair if it's got a slow creep to it. So anyway,
exactly.
We do what we can, and let them do what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's true. But at the end of the day, does he has more hair than you?
Oh yeah.
Even now after all of these transplants?
Sorry. I misunderstood the question. No, my hairline's lower. My hairline is like I have, like, you look at me, I have no hair loss. Just a hot, recessed temples and a high hairline. Yeah. Whereas you look at him, he's a strong Norwood 3A, which means that the front is completely gone. I think he hides it.
Yeah, I know what.
He hides it by doing a Caesar cut, a Caesar style, and he hides it well. But I can't say it's a 3A completely. He does have a forelock that's remaining, so that kind of helps. But yeah, brushing the hair the same way. I look like I got a lot more hair than he does, for sure.
I was thinking to get the same haircut, like you mentioned it. But it's kind of hard, because I've been having long hair for many years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about it, like, even cutting my hair, it seems hard, let alone going bald.
Yes, I get that. I get that. But you're used to it, and cutting it, you're afraid of what it's going to look like. It's taken you a long time to get it where it is now. But at some point,
definitely. At
some point, when you're losing your hair, long hair looks like you're trying too hard.
It already does.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Well, in that case, maybe you should pull the trigger. Maybe
I think I will.
Less is more when it comes to dealing with hair loss and hair.
Definitely, and it makes it easier to apply even minoxidil and things like that, because it's a pain in the ass when you have long hair.
Yes, absolutely.
But now that you mention it, is there like any legit medication that can make your hair grow faster?
Yes.
Just in case I cut it
Yes, it's not a medication. It's just it's a vitamin. It's a mineral. It's called MSM, Mary Sam Mary. I take it daily. I take 3,000 milligrams a day. I take three capsules, and you'll find, I've talked about this many times, you'll find that your fingernails will grow faster, your toenails, your skin will actually look a little bit better, and your hair will grow faster. It'll grow a lot faster.
A lot faster.
Relatively speaking, yeah. Well, I'll put it like this. If you need a haircut once a month, you'll need a haircut every 2 weeks if you want to maintain that same length.
So it's kind of like double the speed.
In some cases, yeah.
Almost.
In some cases.
Yeah,
all the caveats in place where it depends on how, everyone has different physiology. You respond to different things differently. But this is a mineral that's naturally occurring in your body. You can get some from your foods like broccoli and things like that. But you just have more of it in your system through the supplement, and it kicks the keratin production into overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good to know, because, like I said, if I cut it and I don't like it, maybe I'll grow it back.
Yeah, I mean it'll help to speed the process. Yeah, it may not be a 2-to-1 ratio for the entire duration, like because there are differences in how your hair grows throughout the year, but it'll definitely be faster than if you don't take it. That's for sure.
All right. Well, but I would try it. I mean, I would try it even now. But I don't know. It's just this whole minoxidil thing. I lost so many gains because I really can't apply that every day. So I was thinking of oral minoxidil, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't find any oral minoxidil here.
Yeah. Are you calling pharmacies directly and asking them if they carry it?
Yeah, I did, and
okay.
I called them and asked them if they have minoxidil in the oral form. Like maybe the brand name might be different here. If it does exist, it might not be Lonatan, so who knows? And they say that they don't. They only have like the liquid and the foam. And I don't know. I would really love to switch to oral because it's more convenient than
yeah, of course. Well, it's more convenient, but it seems to be for a lot of people more effective as well.
Yeah, and that too.
I would suggest that you. I don't know, and forgive me on my geopolitics isn't completely up to date. Is Romania part of the Romania part of the EU? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I thought it was. So when you are getting prescriptions, are you able to get prescriptions from doctors outside of Romania? I thought that was part of I thought that was part of the one of the benefits of being in the EU is you have cross-border. Well, you obviously have cross-border commerce that's easier, but your medical options open up.
Yeah, it might be, but here's the thing. Like, I have a friend that lives in Hungary, which is the next country to Romania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he told me that he had a lot of problems getting a prescription for finasteride. Mm-hmm. Because doctors would not prescribe it for him because they told him it's for old people, it's for prostate.
Yeah, but that's a separate issue as as opposed to the difficulty of getting it because of the where he's located. That's just doctors being idiots. There are doctors there are doctors in the States that won't prescribe Proscar because it's indicated for prostate enlargement and benign prostate hyperplasia, but they have no problem. Yeah. The only prescribe Propecia because it's indicated for hair loss. It's the exact same thing. The only difference is the dosage. Yeah. But it is a common practice to prescribe what's what's called off-label prescriptions, or to create off-label prescriptions. And some doctors just don't do it. They want nothing to do with it because, well, they don't understand their own laws and regulations in their state or province. So what I tell people that are running into that problem is just keep looking. You will find someone that will write the prescription for you. And real quick, I saw a comment by Milk Drinker in the chat room asking if it was sketchy or dangerous or risky to get dutasteride from an online pharmacy without a prescription. Fuck yes, it is. Are you kidding me? Dude. Sorry, this is to Milk Drinker. Well, it's actually to everyone. I don't know what you're thinking. Do not. This is the way I feel about it.
Yeah.
Do not get medications from places where they say you don't need a prescription. We'll get it to you anyway. Fuck that. Sorry for my language, but that blows my mind. No.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, here
do
for
not.
me, it's just I find it in the pharmacy. It's just there's no prescription or anything.
I understand the challenges. I understand the attraction to that type of opportunity, but you don't know. Like, first off, like who would sell you a prescription without an actual medication without requiring a prescription?
Exactly.
That's sketchy as F right there. But you also don't if they're willing to do that, then you don't know where it came from. Now, there are countries where you can walk into a pharmacy and get it without a prescription, but that's because it's allowed. That's because the local regulations are fine with it. Like in Mexico, you can walk. I think you can get finasteride over the counter without a prescription. I think.
Yeah. No. Actually, that's true.
Yeah. In some countries, you can buy steroids over the counter.
Yeah. Like even here, like until 6 years ago, I believe 6-7 years ago, you could get benzodiazepine without the prescription.
Pop them like candy. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So it was insane. I know for me, it's funny that you mentioned that because, of course, I found Lanaten on websites that I could buy it from whatever, Thailand, China, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do it because I don't know what's on those pills. You know.
And look, I understand the desire for that option. It's easy, and you don't have to go. You don't have to go through the hassle of trying to find it. I get it, but I just implore people that are looking for this, that are having problems finding it, to avoid the easy option because you don't know if it's the real deal. You don't know what's in it, and you are, in my opinion, you're literally putting your life in your own hands when you do something like that. You don't know what's in there. It could be fentanyl for all we know, and you're done.
Exactly, I agree.
Bye. Yeah. We'll have one less person in the chat room if that happens. So be safe, Milk Drinker. Okay, be safe. Don't give in to that type of temptation. Okay. Anyway.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
One thing that the last thing that I want to talk about is that I think I mentioned to you this before. People here are drinking minoxidil.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what they are doing is like they put like 3 drops on the Kirkland. Let's say it's the Kirkland dropper, right? Mm-hmm. And they put 3 drops and they mix it with water and they drink water.
Yeah.
That's how they get. And I don't know. It doesn't feel like a good way to do it in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean there are no.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with people that think that they can bro science things better than the pharmacy can.
Me neither.
I'm like they. It's like guys trying to create their own PRP by buying a $200 centrifuge off Amazon. I've seen it. Like I've seen people talking about it. Like I remember seeing there's a video of a guy on YouTube that does an auto hair transplantation, meaning he does it on himself. He's taking hair from his arm. I think it's from his arm.
I've seen that. I've seen that too.
Yeah, and he's sitting in a recliner in his living room, and he's laying out the tools that he bought online, the punches and the syringes, and he's actually transplanting from, I think it was his arm into his scalp.
Yeah, it was his arm. Yeah, I saw that too.
It was a bloody mess, and there is no way it looked good. There's no way that worked. No way.
Yeah,
and it just shows you. Anyway. It shows you the desperation that some people are going through to get their hair back. This guy, he didn't want to have to pay for it because I forgot the reasoning. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat room can, or maybe if you know, he couldn't afford a hair transplant, so he thought, fuck it, I'll do it myself. And he researched it. He got the stuff online, cheap, obviously, and anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't do that to myself. I mean,
well, a lot of people would. A lot of people would. A lot of people were saying, respect for the effort, and I'm sure he's not the only. I know of a doctor actually in Romania that did a hair transplant on himself. Yes.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Yes.
But he's kind of. Do you know him personally?
I don't know him personally.
He's an asshole. Like if you're not a celebrity or a big name here, it's gonna look like shit.
Yeah,
he's not gonna.
I have my opinions about him. Aside from him doing the hair transplant on himself, just from. Yeah, I won't go into it, but I know who he is, and he did the transplant on himself, and I'll just leave it at that. Bad idea.
Yeah, bad idea. Yeah, no, he's not the guy that I would go to.
Yeah, Milk Drinker in the chat room says even the best doctors in the world would not do surgery on themselves. That should tell you a lot about this guy. That says it all right there. That reveals everything you need to know. So anyway,
yeah.
All right,
but I've seen like some celebrities that do go there, and their their results are okay. Nothing magnificent, but it's okay.
Yeah. Well, there are worse options out there, but there are certainly a hell of a lot more that are better too. So
yeah, but like I said, me personally, I want to go to this guy. Well, and I understand the desperation for hair.
Well,
because
yeah, go ahead.
It's more that I don't know if a lot of people talk about this. They probably do, but it's more what it does to me mentally than it does to me physically about how I'm gonna look. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what bothers me more, because I don't want to lose my hair. Like it's that simple.
Of course.
And it makes you feel good when you have hair in your hair. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's nice. It's nice having the option for sure. It's nice having the option, but look, no one wants to lose their hair. People that say that they're fine with it as it's happening. I personally, I'm not going to say that all of them are full of shit,
but most of them.
But I think most of them are. I think that's just their coping mechanism. Because if you gave them the option to have it back, if you could actually snap your fingers, every one of them would say, "Oh yeah, sure, of course I want it back." And then the truth is revealed.
Exactly.
But yeah, no one enjoys this. Some deal with it better than others. But it is what it is. Like if it wasn't an issue, it wouldn't be a multi-billion-dollar industry, for sure.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate your call. I know it's late. What time is it there in Romania?
It's almost 3 in the morning.
Almost 3 in the morning. Wow. Well, thank you for staying up late to call in. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for the update on your brother.
Thank you.
And the call in general. I appreciate it, man. All right, you have a good night, and I'll be back tomorrow. Be sure to watch, and maybe give us a call if you got anything else you want to share, and we'll talk to you again soon. Okay? All right.
Okay, Joe. Thanks a lot.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
You too. Take care. See ya.
All right, so we are nearing the top of the hour, almost 5 o'clock Pacific time here in Vancouver, British Columbia. You guys are welcome to give me one more call. I got time for one more call. If you keep it short, toll-free number is right here on the screen. If you're listening, not watching, it is toll-free 1-833-563-4247. Toll-free North America and worldwide using the calling app of your choice. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I thought it was interesting. I'm very grateful to Anand from hairlosscure2020.com. I keep mentioning him, but he's a great resource. Like I've said it many times, he's a great resource for me if I'm desperate to find something to talk about, which isn't every day, but sometimes I have no clue. And I leave it up to you guys to help direct to help determine the direction of the episode. But today he came through, and I appreciate him reaching out to me. What else is going on? Exciting news. I can't share the details, but I've got yet another clinic, a third clinic recently that applied. That, like it happens fairly often, but that I automatically knew I'd probably accept them. And I think it's a great addition to the group I've put together so far. I got an Instagram message last night, and it was out of nowhere. Like, I've talked to this guy before. He's asked me for some guidance on documentation, like I was talking about with the previous caller from DC. Like his doctor, he also reached out for me. I get this a lot. Where doctors will reach out to me and ask for my advice on how to shoot video, how to take photos, camera recommendations, things like that. And it's nice. I like hearing from doctors that I otherwise wouldn't meet face to face. Sometimes I'll meet them at conferences that I go to. But it's nice hearing from this guy. And I've not talked to him in probably 4 or 5 months. And yeah. He wanted to know what it would take, like what's involved, and so it's nice to hear from him, because I think that if this works out, I think that you guys will be excited to have him as another resource that I think that you can consider, because I know a lot of you guys consider my recommendations closely. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway. And then there's another one that's also working on getting their information for me, and a third one there's some good doctors that are looking to come on board, and I'm excited about their presentation that I create for them. So if you want to learn about who that is, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell for all notifications, because that means that a video about this doctor and their clinic will be coming up, where I will be explaining why I think they're worth your consideration. What else is going on? I think that's the only real vague news I can share right now. A lot of other things going on. I got some great videos I'm working on that are in depth and detail. That's why they're not just coming out like that. And yeah, looking at some more guests to have on board now that I got the phone systems work out and everyone can hear each other. That's fantastic. I'm probably going to get Dr. Cooley back on here shortly, and Dr. Aaron Nussbaum, so we can redeem ourselves for those terrible episodes where it was just echo. I got all that worked out. So I'll get them back on soon so we can have a great conversation that you guys can understand. But with that said, let's see, it's 4:52, no calls. Let's look in the chat room, see if there's anything I can talk about. Let's see. Hollow Inside 19. Can you name in the chat, Joe, what's the name of the drug that makes hair grow faster? Well, it's not considered to be a drug. It is a mineral that's naturally found in our bodies, in every cell of our bodies, if I understand it correctly. I'm typing it in the chat room now. It's called MSM. And you can usually get them. The standard application is you can get it in powder form. I don't recommend that. You can get the capsules, which are usually 1,000 milligrams each. I take 3 a day. That's just my personal approach to that. And I first learned of it 20 years ago. I haven't taken it consistently. I actually stopped taking it many years ago, and I restarted taking it several months ago. And I don't even know why I stopped taking it, but I like it. I like what it does. Let's see. Any other questions? Benny G, the show's production is getting slick. Thank you, Benny G. I appreciate that. Please send an invite to Jake Kent, the guy of hair systems I told you about, or Hair Experience. They are a great way to inform people of hair systems. I might do that. That's good. I would not mind having a hair system guy or gal on here. I think that would be. I like hair systems for some people because I think that they're a great alternative to surgery. I think that a lot of people should seriously consider hair systems before surgery because it might be the answer to their problems. I think a lot of people that are in repair situations, dire repair situations, hair systems are the answer. Even if you're reluctant to use them, it might be something that you wind up embracing. You might enjoy it because there's some really good hair systems out there. Let's see. Neil in the chat room says, Joe, when you're losing your hair, how exactly did your family react? Were they supportive, critical, or mean? They were indifferent. I told them what I was going to do, get surgery, and they're like, okay, good luck. That was basically it. When I came home and I was still living with my parents at the time. At that time, I think, was I? Or did I forgot. I might have been, I think I came home and just weathered the recovery at my parents' house, but I think that's what it was. I don't know. When I was in my early 20s, I bounced back and forth between living at home and living near campus when I was going to university. So I don't know. It was one of the 19 times I moved out or moved in. I don't know. But yeah, and they were supportive, but they were just kind of like, okay, well, good luck. That's interesting. So when I say indifferent, I don't mean it was like, whatever. It wasn't like that. It was, they weren't excited. They were more excited about my repair surgery because they knew how living with that mess on my head affected me. So that, fast forward 9 years, that's when it was not indifference. It was a lot of support, and they were asking for updates too. They were like, how's it coming? It was nice. It was nice. So I hope that helps. That's good, I guess. My mother was cruel. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. Harsha Rao or Ro, hope I said that right. I'm going to go with Rao. Harsha Rao in the chat room. Joe, did you go through bouts of depression during hair loss? How did you deal with it? Kind of. Like, yes. I'll say yes. But not like some people do. I'm the kind of person where I roll with the punches easier than some other people do. Not all people, but I roll with the punches in my life because I look at it like this. What's done is done. How do I deal with it? How do I, like with my hair, if you're listening to this, I'm pausing because I'm trying to gather my thought on this. And I'm thinking about when I used to stand in the mirror or in front of the mirror, and I would look at the mess on my head, and I remember thinking to myself, and this was a constant question: how am I going to style it today? What's going to be the best option? pardon the yawn, do I put gel in my hair and slick it back? And I didn't like that usually because it made my hair look thinner. Or do I just do the comb to the side? And that was my normal style. But I would do that, and then I'd look at it and be like, okay, it is what it is, and I just swallow it. You know, that's all I could do. And then I discovered the GLH Good Looking Hair in a Can, which is, I think about that, it's so fucking ridiculous, the way I looked, and just the whole concept. Like, you know, before the internet, you had late night infomercials. If you're Gen X, you remember this. The same guy that was selling knives was also selling hair in a can. And a friend of mine and his girlfriend, I was over visiting one day, and they actually brought it up to me. This is funny. I remember the girl named Leah. She was this Persian girl that I think I used to work with in a restaurant. God, these are thoughts I've not had in a long time. You're really making me dig back in my past, things I haven't thought of in literally decades. Leah Rashidian, that was her name. I'm surprised I still remember that. She was a buddy of mine. She was a cool chick, and her boyfriend, can't remember his name, Mark. I think it was Mark. Anyway. He was having hair loss issues, but not nearly like I was. He was just kind of thinning and losing his mind about it. Anyway, so he pulled out this box, and it had these rattle cans, like if you buy several spray paint cans from the hardware store. That's what it was like. Like, you literally shake it and you can hear the ball inside to mix it up. This shit was literally paint. It was paint. And when I first discovered this, when they first told me about it, it was like I don't know, it was like the answer had been presented to me. I wasn't even looking for it. They just kind of started talking about it and asking me questions like, yeah, you had the hair transplant. I was like, oh God, yeah. Okay, yes, I did. And I admitted it. But yeah, it was like, this stuff works. They sprayed it in my head. God, I haven't thought of this in forever. That was my first introduction. Like, I always remember that they are the ones that told me about it, but I've not thought about the process. The night that they told me about it and actually gave me a demonstration. And it was crazy. I was like, oh my God, this is it. And I was hooked. And I used it for a few years. I ordered it. And I remember saying I need to have like light brown, which looked like dark blonde. But I didn't realize, I've talked about this before, I didn't realize that my hair was actually dark brown at the time. Because it was still in my head that I was, I had the same hair color that I had when I was younger, which was blonder. It was like a dark blonde or a dirty blonde. Because when I was a kid, I was always out in the sun and, growing up in Florida and, surfing, yeah, your hair's lighter. But as an adult, it was much darker. And so when I was using this, I couldn't tell that where I was spraying it down the middle was a lighter shade than the sides. And it wasn't until I saw, and I have talked about this, it wasn't until I saw myself in a photo when I'd gone to a formal where I'm wearing a tuxedo, where I saw how it looked on film. And my jaw dropped. I had this pit in my stomach. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I look like this. What in the actual F? And I couldn't stop using it because I was addicted to it. And I had the supply. And I was poor. Like I was a college kid. I wasn't making much money. I was bartending, or waiting tables or whatever. And so I couldn't afford to just, order some more anytime I wanted to. but I eventually did get a darker brown. But I also eventually weaned myself off of it because I realized that I was addicted to it because I couldn't stop using the supply I had, which looked ridiculous. I need to find the photo. I still have a photo. I still have that photo somewhere. I need to find it. I've kept it. It might be at my mother's house, but I might have it here in storage in Vancouver. I'm not sure. But if I find it, I will share it and I will show the world how stupid I looked with that streak going. It looked like a damn skunk on two legs because I'm wearing a white jacket tuxedo, white or black pants, but a white jacket, I think. Yeah. And I thought I was standing out because I had a cool tuxedo where everyone else was wearing all black. But I was also standing out because I had a streak in my hair that looked ridiculous. Anyway, sorry for the rant, but you really opened up a can of worms there because I hadn't thought of that part of the journey in a very long time. So thank you, I think, for asking that question. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question. Milk Drinker asks, Joe, how much did you fuss over the hairline design? Did you just go with Dr. Wong's first suggestion? That's a good question. I asked questions about it. I did ask if it could go lower, and he said no. Well, it can, but we need to make sure we have enough grafts to give you enough coverage on top. And it was the right move. He could have lowered it. He lowered it later, twice. But yeah, it could have been lower the first time, but we also didn't know I was going to be having more surgeries. I thought it was just one and done. Like, when I realized, I knew that day after surgery that it was going to be a night and day difference. I just felt that good about it because I just knew. I had no idea I'd be getting a second, much less so many more. Where the hairline was lowered and crown and temple points and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I did ask and look for changes, but he didn't hold steady on it. Like he made some modifications to it based on the discussion. He always does that. He never says it's this way or the highway. He will adjust within reason to make the patient happy. That's for sure. So, you pronounced my last name right, Harsha Rao. Thank you. Hey, I'm well traveled. I'm a little cultured. I understand different cultures and languages and how things are pronounced. So, give me a little credit. Let's see what else we got here. Any other questions? We're past 5 o'clock. It's 5:06, but I'll answer one more question. Let's see. Joaid Mohammed, which part of World Joe new member? I don't know what that means, which is kind of silly since I just said I'm well traveled and well called. Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Can you rephrase the question? Which part of World Joe new member? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Milk Drinker Joe, did you used to work with Ferraduni and Bazenga? No, I have not worked with either. They've never been hair transplant mentor clinics, doctors. I know them both personally. I love Dr. Ferraduni. He's a blast. He's great to drink with. I'll say that much. He's a funny guy. And Dr. Bazenga is cool too. I like Dr. Bazenga. I've hung out with him a little bit. Let's see. Any other questions? Sorry for the dead air. I'm just scrolling, looking at these questions. Toupees are best for Norwood 5s and beyond. I wouldn't say the best. There's some fantastic surgical results for that, but it's a good option. Okay, Harsha Rao says, I went through a lot, mainly because of some friends' taunts. It was tough. Harsha, when I was 17 years old, sitting in the school cafeteria, the last thing in my mind was hair loss. I didn't know I was losing my hair. It never occurred to me. I was never that self-aware at that time in my life. And I've shared this story before, but there was some asshole kid. I remember hearing this. I can still hear this in my memory. Eating and talking, and I could hear, you will, you will, you won't, you won't, you won't, you will, you won't, you won't, getting louder and louder. And then felt the tap of my head, you will, and then going down, you won't, you will, you will, getting fainter. I was like, what the hell? Wait, come here. What are you talking about? Like, what? I will what? What are you talking about? Oh, you'll be bald. The hair in the back of your head is thinning. What? I was 17 years old. What the F? And that's what started the whole thing. Like I didn't, like I said before, I roll with the punches. Like I typically don't dwell on things. I processed it, took me a while, and then it just kind of like became a thing. It's like, okay. And I'd look at it sometimes when I'd style my hair, getting ready to go out, but I was able to hide it. I wasn't like doing comb overs and stuff, but like it never seemed to be so much of an issue for me. Like it wasn't, I talked to my friend about it, who eventually is responsible for me going with him to have surgery, yada, 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 that whole thing. But before that, I'd style it, and I think I kind of dismissed it. Like maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. I wasn't seeing a huge difference. Obviously, that was wrong. But it wasn't until after I had my surgeries and I started losing more hair, and it was obvious I had the surgeries, that I started getting taunts. And sometimes it was subtle, like it wasn't verbal. It would just be, it would actually be involuntary, where people would be looking at my hairline when I'm talking to them instead of looking me in the eyes. And I'd probably notice it more than most people, because I'm one of those people that always talk to people looking them in the eye. I've never been the kind of person that does, this number when you're talking to, I don't do that. Like I learned early on, or I was taught early on by my father, to always look people in the eye when you talk to them. And so when I would talk to them being anyone, I'd look them in the eye as I'm talking, and they wouldn't look back. They'd be looking up here. So that was one of the toughest things I had to deal with. But I would get into discussions that might get heated, and then my hairline would be thrown at me in front of everyone to win an argument. And that is a gut punch that no one should go through. It happened multiple times. And I've talked about it. Yeah, it's tough. I get it. Let's see, what else? A couple more things here. Mike Pedroza, Joe 17. Yep, it was, I was 17. Sorry, didn't mean to bring up. No, sorry, didn't mean to bring up what may be some unpleasant memories. Apology. No, don't apologize. Dude, that was a long time ago, and I am completely past it. It's not even remotely an issue. It's look, I look at things like this differently than, I have a different view on life in general than most people. I look at situations like that as character building scenarios, opportunities. I don't look at mistakes in my life as actually being mistakes. I look at them as learning opportunities. That's really existential. I know. It sounds like BS, and it is on some levels, but no, I think it's very simple. You make a mistake, it's actually a learning opportunity. Don't do that again. What can you do differently, right? But when it comes to the way that people taunt others or put down others. I think that if you look at life a certain way, then you actually look at that as an opportunity to grow. Because you have to understand that if someone taunts you for, hang on a second, a little stuffy. If someone taunts you because of a physical deficit, just trying to find the right word, then they've got a problem. Like, it's one thing to talk about issues in general. Like if you're talking about obese people, I think about that. I think about a skit that Bill Burr was talking about where he's got Conan O'Brien pissing himself laughing because he's talking about how he's talking to his wife, and there's like this show that comes on where these people are crying as if their dog died because they can't stop eating, Little Debbie snack cakes and pizzas, and they're like super big, super obese. Meanwhile, most of the world is starving, and that's different. But when you're talking to someone specifically and you're throwing out insults based on some sort of physical issue that they may have, that's messed up. That's messed up. To do that as far as, when you're being in some sort of confrontational scenario with people and you call out like, say they had a bad rhinoplasty and you call that out, or a bad hair transplant like I've had done, there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. So long story short, I know, too late. I look at those situations as learning opportunities. I look at those situations as character building situations. It's why I actually am glad I went through some of what I went through, because it allows me to sit here and talk to you. I don't think I could be in a position where I could sit here and ramble on by myself. And granted, being on the Bald Truth of Spencer Coburn, that's helped a lot too. But to be able to speak to someone that's on the other side of this lens, times however many people wind up seeing this, I don't think I could do that if I didn't go through what I'd gone through in my 20s, dealing with bad hair transplant surgery. It has allowed me to grow and to actually feel more confident. And in the most specific occurrence or direct occurrence from that experience that helped me through this was when I was bartending, or when I was working in nicer style restaurants. Because I have about a 7 or 8 year long career working in the restaurant industry many years ago, throughout a lot of my 20s. And we're talking about, you got to have the suspenders or the bow tie, fine dining kind of situation. I was quite good at it, by the way. I enjoyed it, but you have to learn how to talk to people. And I couldn't wear a hat. You don't walk into a nice restaurant and see some guy wearing, a sweaty ass ball cap trying to hide his bad hair transplant and creating a fine dining experience. It doesn't work. So I had to have my hair exposed if I was going to be in this industry, which I really enjoyed it. It was fun. You always have cash in your pocket the other night, go drinking with your friends, meet women. It's fun. But it's because of that experience that I learned to be able to speak to people face to face and put this in the back of my mind and ignore it. Because if I could ignore it with a few reminders here and there because of this number, then I could do anything. And that's the way it's worked out. I can talk to anyone. I can stand in front of a room full of people and speak and not really have any, you can get a little nervous. Sure. That's normal. but I don't shy away from it. That's for sure. I've been asked to speak in front of groups before. I have regarding hair at some meetings, and also impromptu gatherings where I'm called on to talk about something, not just about hair, but like in different walks of life. But yeah, so the point of this is that I am thankful for some of the pain that I went through, because it's helped me to grow. It's helped me to become more, I guess, confident, but it's easier for me to deal with adversity with regards to dealing with people, if that makes sense. Anyway, long answer. But yeah, you guys are getting some real Joe today, that's for sure. Let's see, can you get an aggressive hairline if you're willing to use a partial hair piece as a fail-safe on the crown if your hair loss advances? You can, but a good clinic will not do that for someone that's young. Good clinics, in my opinion, any clinic, in my opinion, should make sure that the patient is used to wearing a hair system for many years before they commit to something like that, because they are effectively using all of your hair in a way that they normally would not, or most of your hair. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, let's see. I guess that's about it. No pain, no gain. Thanks, Joe. You're welcome, Harsha. No name, PJP, get it done. It's been 5 years off for the past 40 years. I don't know what that means. Yeah, okay. Guys, I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. Today's been a fun show. I enjoyed it immensely. There's some great questions, some phenomenal callers. Thank you. Was it Andre? Andre from Romania? Sorry, forgot the name. I'm bad with names. And everyone else that called. Wayne, Philadelphia. Of course, Anand from hairlosscure2020.com. I will mention some other websites real quick. Hairlossexperiences.com. It's one of the few forums I think is worth visiting. Great place. Lots of great interaction there. Some clinics, post and talk directly to patients as well. That's a good place. Check out spexhair.com. Dude's on fire with some of his articles talking about the industry and hair loss. Who else? IAHRS.org.com. It'll direct to .org. I keep forgetting which that is. Of course, Bald Truth Talk. Great resource. Who else? Who am I forgetting? They're down in the description. I just want to mention them. I haven't mentioned them in quite a while, but I appreciate all their support, because they do support the channel. They do support my Instagram at Joe Tillman Official. Check them all out. Click on them. Go have a look at their websites. Check them out. Doesn't hurt anything. Doesn't cost you anything except a couple minutes. And I guess that's it. So, guys, thank you, as always, for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you liked today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and ring the bell for all notifications. I might be back tomorrow on Thursday, June 22nd. I might not. We'll see. The only way you'll know is if you're subscribed, so you get that notification. I didn't even rehearse that one. That was a nice one. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.